There is building happening outside and my cat will not stop. Hang on. Okay. She's unimpressed, but you wouldn't stop. Hey everyone, Michaela here once again, and I am back with a review for the Best Picture Oscar winner of 1992 and first ever horror film to win the highly sought after award, The Silence of the Lambs. As you'll know by now, I am attempting to watch all of the Best Picture winners in history, and thank you so much for joining me. It's been super fun so far, watching films that I maybe wouldn't have reached for otherwise. You can of course check out my past reviews, but for now let's get started with this spine-chilling film. For those who haven't seen the film and just know it for the many pop culture references and often quoted lines as I did, The Silence of the Lambs follows agent-in-training Clarice Starling as she is sent to interview Hannibal Lecter, a serial cannibal, to gain insight into a currently at large psychopath named Buffalo Bill and try to catch him. Starling has to agree to a quid pro quo situation wherein she will divulge personal information in order for Lecter to share his insight. Right off the bat, my impression of this film is it's genius. As soon as it finished, I wanted it to start again, and I think that's a really rare thing to find in a film. Like, yes, you might find yourself wanting to rewatch a film a few days or maybe weeks later, or maybe you know someone who might want to watch it so you rewatch it with them, but very rarely do you finish a film and then immediately want it to start again. So why and how did this film do that? Well, firstly, the acting is phenomenal. Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster won Best Actor and Best Actress respectively, and I think that says it all. While the entire cast is really strong, the two lead performances are absolutely standout and incredible. Hopkins and Foster both made amazing choices when it came to their mannerisms, voice, movement, and facial expressions. Speaking of the performances, I actually have a story about how Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter scared me quite a few years before I even saw this film. So in 2015 I was in America and I was at Madame Tussauds, the wax museum. So I was walking through and at one point I was alone and I think someone said something, so I wasn't really looking where I was going, and I guess I entered another room. All of a sudden it's dark, eerily silent, and I just hear... I turned around and there's the very realistic looking and not caged behind anything wax figure of Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter, and I almost jumped out of my entire skin. I actually screamed so loud that people came running to see if I was okay. Well done, Anthony Hopkins. And I actually don't want to say anything else about the acting because I don't want to spoil it for anyone who maybe hasn't seen the film. So I really highly recommend going and seeing it or rewatching it to appreciate the genius of the acting. All of the awards that this film won were very well deserved, including of course Best Picture, which, side note, I absolutely love that one of the films this was up against for Best Picture was Beauty and the Beast. It's, in my opinion, the best kind of Best Picture or movie in general. You just want to talk about it after. I just want to talk about it with anyone and everyone. Thus this. The story is extremely compelling, and that circles back to what I said in my previous review about Best Picture winners having near perfect editing. The Silence of the Lambs is a complete story, well told, to the extent that I know there's a book, but I don't feel the need to go and read it. They included all relevant story beats in the film, or at least the ones that really mattered. The Academy seems to have agreed with me because it won for Best Adapted Screenplay. In contrast, after finishing No Country for Old Men last week, 2 weeks ago, I felt like some of the story was missing and I needed to go and read the book. That's not to say that that film doesn't have great editing, but if you'd like to hear some of my other thoughts on that film, you can head to my Instagram page, which is @MichaelasMovies, and I posted a review there. Another aspect that really stuck out to me about The Silence of the Lambs was the cinematography. I absolutely adored it. As an example, spoilerific, so skip here if you haven't seen it, the scene with Clarice and Lecter in his new cell where he kind of gets the upper hand in the conversation. The bars appear to be on her face and he looks like he's kind of free, symbolizing that he's got the control and she's a prisoner in this conversation. This is especially interesting given the action in the following scenes and how Clarice kind of inadvertently freed Lecter. Something that I constantly found myself thinking about while coming up with this review was that having the main characters, especially Lecter, look at or very close to the lens of the camera was a genius choice. It draws the audience in to an alarming degree and at points you, the viewer, feel threatened by Lecter. Overall, every aspect of this film is genius, and yes, I've used that word a lot in this review, but it's just the most apt, I feel. I could talk about it for ages, and I'm so looking forward to when I can see my friends and do just that. For now, that's all I have, and I'm so excited to watch the next Best Picture. What's your vote? Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video or are intrigued about Best Picture films and what sets them apart, or maybe just films in general, consider subscribing. I have a lot of fun putting reviews together and I hope you join me for the next one. Keep an eye on my Facebook and Instagram pages linked below because the next review will be posted within the fortnight. You can also check out past reviews on there as well as of course on this channel. So thanks again, and remember you can tell me your thoughts on this film or maybe some suggestions for the next film I should talk about down below.